Tell me, first of all, where did this idea come from? Well, I guess first explain what this program is.
Yeah, Burke is a new way for donors to step up and help us protect the nation, really, all the communities across the nation in the event of a mass trauma, whether that's a natural disaster or a shooting or a major accident, whatever that is. And it's kind of a way to motivate folks to give for that reason. And then if the blood isn't used in the week that their blood center's quote unquote on call, then the blood comes back to the regular inventory and is used locally. So it's a kind of an extra safety net underneath the nation to protect against shortages at the most critical moment of a mass trauma, where the blood center involved is usually hustling and desperate and a little bit overwhelmed. And this is just a guarantee or an attempt at a guarantee to make sure there's blood on the shelf coming their way. They don't have to ask 25 different blood centers, that it's a systematic way to strengthen the safety net, really.
And so where did this idea come from? And it's relatively new from what I understand.
It is new, and I have to say it came from yours truly. It came from really the trauma that occurred in Austin over the summer. In June, there was a shooting on 6th Street, which is a wonderful part of their town with a lot of businesses and fun and activities. And late one Friday night, unfortunately, a couple of folks decided to open fire, and they shot 12 people, one of whom died, but 11 went to the hospital, which is great, except there's now a huge demand for blood. So the local blood center there, called We Are Blood, asked, as is the custom, for a bit of help from its friends. And they asked 14 blood centers. OBI was one of them, ABI. And they only got 34 units, and they were looking for 50. And 50 is not a huge total to begin with, but the fact that they looked that hard and got so little response was the first time in my blood banking career, which is now 25 years into it, that I'd ever seen such a poor response to such an obvious need. And I thought we could do better. And the reason the poor response was there is the nation is experiencing some severe blood shortages related to the pandemic and getting back on our feet after businesses have been closed and schools have been closed and people are a bit reluctant to come out. So there was an obvious reason why we were struggling, but that new situation demanded a new solution. And the new solution was to create a program that would not only systematize the help that is sent and the way it's sent and share kind of that burden of protecting one another in a regimented way, a documented way, but it would also give donors a chance to step up and help out. Because a lot of times what happens is the donors will come out afterwards. When they hear about it, they want to help, which is wonderful. We love that. But the units that get raced to the scene of the disaster and help have to be given beforehand, and they have to be on the way as soon as the disaster occurs. Otherwise, there's going to be a gap, because it takes about 36 hours for all the testing to be done, all the paperwork to be done after somebody completes a donation before that unit can be shipped. So that's too big a gap just to rely on, oh, there'll be enough on the shelf and then we'll backfill. No, we can plan ahead. We can encourage the donors to help us step up into this gap that we're now experiencing because of the pandemic. And it's had a tremendous response, which is pretty gratifying, because it really indicates that, Americans, I don't care which state you live in or which community, there's so many good people who want to help. And this gives them that avenue to get ahead of the crisis and not just be sitting there going, oh, that's terrible, let's all react to it. So I think it's an expression in advance of caring for one another that is embraced. And I think anybody who wants to feel good about our society at a time when a lot of negative signals are coming through, just look at the blood donors and look at the response to this. We've now got over 25 blood centers. We've got over 30 states where blood is being collected for this purpose on a regular basis. Each blood center goes on call, as it were, every 3 weeks. So for 1 week, they're on call. They might be asked to send units to Michigan for the school shooting, or to the tornadoes in Kentucky, whatever. Those are both things that happen both times the Burke was activated. So they might be able to help in that situation, but if they don't help, then it just goes to the regular inventory. Will probably be shipped out in the next 2 weeks and won't be around for the next time the blood center is on call. So a new group of donors steps up. So it's kind of passing the responsibility around in a way that only I think Americans can do, where everybody sort of owns a piece of it, and we remember that we're all one big wonderful family together, and that if all the loads are lighter, many hands make for light work. Well, many arms and veins make for light work too. So that's what we're hoping to get from this. And again, early days, but really, really strong support. And we, in all honesty, we owe the media a ton of thanks, because they're breathing life into this, because the media has educated us through the pandemic. They've made us safe by giving us important information. And we've just seen a great response from reporters who want to tell this story, because I think they see the value of building something better out of the crisis, which if we come out of this stronger, then, that's the silver lining to this pandemic. And I think the blood industry, the blood collectors, as it were, are going to be able to walk away from this saying, we got better. We were faced with a challenge, and Burke is one of those things that we walk away stronger. And I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. I think Burke will survive the pandemic and will be more. We're already seeing the Kentucky Blood Center responded to us that they were really happy that they didn't have to work through all the problems. They knew this was taken care of. Instead of being on the phone during the crisis, trying to find somebody who will ship them 10 units of this and 4 units of that, they were just turned on the system, and the system started to flow towards them, which I want them solving the problems of how do they get the last mile? How do they get that blood to their hospitals? And the hospitals probably have power lines down and all kinds of difficulties in the immediate vicinity. Let them focus on that. That's going to be hard enough. Let us just make sure that they know help's on the way.
So that blood basically is collected ahead of time with some promotional aspect as far as getting people in. And then it's in storage until it's needed in a certain location.
Some centers, I'm sure, put it in a special box.
Right.
Our operations are big enough that the commitment is for 15 units from each of the centers. And right now we've got 8 centers for each day. So that's over 100 units of O blood. And there are other units that would go as well if they needed A. But usually in a trauma, what gets used up quickly is O, because it can be used for anybody. And so if you don't know the blood type of somebody who's come into your emergency room bleeding, you can grab some O, give it to them, type them, and then give them, the A or the B or the AB they may need if it's not O. So again, O's what people use during trauma, and it's what the shelves get bare and needs replacing. And so right now we've got a system that has committed to getting us 100 O's, O pos and O neg, shipped out. No questions asked, so long as the trauma meets some minimum, there are 4 or more victims. It's one event. It's not like a bad day around town and multiple individual shootings or whatever it is. It has to be a mass trauma.
Right.
We have to set some boundaries so that, a bad car accident involving 2 people, that's still a tragedy. We still want them to get blood, but that's not what this is about. This is about those media things we all see on the TV, and we all want to support. Michigan school shooting, and the original crisis, which got me thinking about this, was the Austin shooting. How terrible would it be to get to the hospital, you make it out of the trauma, you survive the shooting by God's good grace, and then you end up, having a problem with shock, or even worse, death, because at the hospital they weren't able to juggle the inventory enough. We as blood bankers, I think, and really I'm a blood donor too, I would say we dropped the ball. If the first responders get them to the hospital and then we can't supply them, that's an epic fail that I don't want to be part of.
Having been in the business 20 some odd years ago, I remember how difficult it was in situations like this to find blood and have it imported in. Having this system, I would have no doubt, this has got to be a huge relief to those centers near where these tragedies occur.
You know, it's a relief to them, I think, but it's also an uplift to our staff. Our staff already know that we are primed. We've been able to send units with a Burke activation once, and then in the aftermath of a Burke activation in the case of Kentucky. We weren't on call, but we knew the need, and we had some units, and we sent them subsequently because we've had the units come to us from Burke donors. So because of their response, we had that little bit of extra even after the initial activation, which is again part of it. A lot of these traumas, some of the survivors will go through up to a dozen or more surgeries particularly if they've had enough limb damage and need a lot of orthopedic help. We don't want to just stop at, the first 24 or 48 hours. That Burke gives us the inspiration to remind people that these traumas, they're hurt to the whole fabric of our community, but they're healing to the whole fabric of our community. So, our staff love being part of this program. They love being able to hear that some units went out. We love being able to tell our donors that, they helped when I think about a donor who gets to think that their units actually were sent into one of those traumas, part of them was on the scene. So you look at those terrible things, you think, what can I do? Well, for our donors, some of them, an actual part of them was sent and is helping. So that's a pretty dramatic way of saying I made a difference.
To go along with that, it's really basically encouraging people to come donate to help out local communities or their local community, but helping out other people as well when there is a tragedy like this.
Yeah, it's a wonder. You pointed out excellently. It's a wonderful twofer, right? So your unit's on call for a week. It's part of a wonderful new safety net. And then it goes and does its wonderful, miraculous job back at home if hopefully it isn't used. We would hope that Burke is rarely activated, but we've been activated 3 times in the first 4 months. So that tells you, unfortunately, we live in a time when there are lots of incidents, and that the blood supply isn't back to where folks are like, okay, I got it, no worries. Hopefully we get to that would be a wonderful way to calm Burke down. It would be to, 1, get fewer incidents of shootings and trauma, and 2, have such a great blood supply that people are like, nah, we got it covered. But I don't see either of those 2 things happening anytime soon. And in the interim, we've got this really great program, and we've got people talking about it and maybe getting a little bit inspired to help those first responders. Let's not drop the ball for them. They're going into burning buildings and they're going into harm's way, and they're passing the ball to us. And I don't want to be the guy who's in the red zone here, so to speak, and dropping the ball. Boo, nobody likes a turnover.
That's right. So where do you see this program going from here? You've got 25 centers. How big could this get?
Well, that's about half of the blood collectors in the country. We would love everybody to participate. We would love to develop more tools to recognize and really appreciate those who are involved. So we've got a logo. We're doing some promotional things. One of the things I really love about one of our promotional items that we've put forward is it's almost like a toy. It's a squeezy shaped like a fire truck, or it's a squeezy shaped like a police car. I think we have an ambulance too, I'm not sure. But the thought of being involved with this and taking it back to your grandchild or your child and saying, this is what intergenerational transfer of values looks like. Hey, here, have this toy truck, play with it, squeeze it, do whatever you want, but know that I got this as dad, grandma, whatever it is. I got it because I'm part of taking care of the community, and this was my reward. They wanted you to have this, and you to know that grandma is just the most amazing giver. And that's what makes America strong. So that intergenerational piece of this, and we have wonderful support at blood drives where the fire departments will pull up their trucks, and it's a real celebration. We call them boots and badges or guns and hoses.
Oh, yeah.
And they're wonderful collaborations, and they bring out the trucks and sometimes even the air ambulances and all that. It's a moment where if you're passing on that, and here's the toy and here's the celebration of that next generation, they're already fascinated by first responders. Let them know they can be part of the team. And when they grow up and they're 16, that door is wide open. We're actually hollering for folks to come in. So hopefully that's an added piece of this. I hope we grow that. I hope that piece of intergenerational value transfer is something becomes, it's tangible, right? You can explain to a child that there's a terrible disaster, a building collapse, a shooting even. But what a good community does is, first of all, we try and avoid it. But then when it happens, we race to help, and we race to help by preparing. We don't wait for it to happen. We care for one another in advance. And that's what a nurse does when she learns her craft, or he learns his craft, or a firefighter, same thing. They're preparing. Their lives are a preparation for that moment. But a donor's life can be a preparation, and a donor's gift can be a preparation.
Exactly. Dr. Armitage, thank you so much. This is a great program, and I'm looking forward to doing some more work with this as it gets bigger.
Well, thank you so much for covering it. And as I mentioned somewhere in there, the media has been tremendous and doesn't get enough credit for helping us through this pandemic.